Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast where global leaders from Harvard Business School's OPM community join in a personal capacity and they share the real decisions, life principles, mental models, and learning curves that they have built along the way of starting and leading companies. My guest today is Vivek Bhargav. Vivek, it's a pleasure to have you on this show.
Pleasure is all mine, my friend. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, Vivek, do you just want to take a moment and introduce yourself, your company as well, so the listeners know about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Vivek Bhargav. I've been in digital advertising 25 years. So I had built a company called Communicate 2, which was the largest performance agency in the country. Sold it to Dentsu in 2012, worked with them for 8 years, helped them acquire a few agencies, build a 1,000 people team. 2020, middle of COVID, I wrote a book on happiness. And one of the lines I wrote in my book was the happiness comes in the growth phase. It does not come in the phase of stagnation. Next morning, I quit Dentsu to start Consumer.ai, which is my current company, with two other co-founders. We raised about $4 million, built the platform, launched it in US, got a couple of few Fortune 100 clients out there. Last month, we booked Avis, HP, Pfizer. In India, we've now really expanded our business with 10 new clients, become profitable. So now I'm going through the same journey again of building a company from 0 to 1. Hopefully, we can get some good partner to work with. Again, that's my second phase as an entrepreneur, but I've done over 35 angel investments. I love paragliding. I own a table tennis team. And I'm in the Buddha category of 40 plus. I have one silver medal in nationals. And I think one thing that I'm really passionate about is happiness. So I wrote a book called Happiness is a Muscle, and I go and give a lot of talks around that. I've become a forum facilitator for entrepreneurs organization. I'm part of YPO2, and now I'm going and taking these forum trainings for people. So I love learning new things, and that's what I think makes my life very joyful.
That's amazing. One of the most influential books that I read that affected my life is a book on happiness. It's called The Happiness Hypothesis,
I've read
which
that.
was by Jonathan. I don't know how to say his last name, Haidt.
I've
But that
read that.
really, yeah. That book stuck with me, and I'm excited to check out your book as well. And background sounds very, very
No,
impressive.
just send me your address. I'll send you the book, because when you order through me, then you get a sort of signed copy of the book.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. When you look back at the early part of your life, what experiences or influences most shaped how you think about work, ambition, and also risk?
So I think I had a very large influence from my father regarding philosophies in life. So I still remember I was like 10, 11 years old, and he had sat me down while during dinner and asked me, do you know the difference between having a job and becoming an entrepreneur? So I was like 11 years old. I was waiting for thinking whether I'm going to get batting, playing cricket in my building or not. Like, these are not the questions I was thinking of, right? So I said, I don't know. So he said, okay, you know what? If you want to be successful in a job, you have to spend less than what you earn. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to just earn more than what you can spend. So if you are spending 1 crore rupees a day, not a problem, as long as you earn more than that. And here I was this 11-year-old kid sitting on the dinner table and thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur because I want to spend 1 crore rupees a day. So I think that was, in a way, a small introduction of entrepreneurship into the kids in the family. Like, we come from this family of entrepreneurs. So I don't think none of our families actually have jobs. They all entrepreneurs. So unlike a lot of people that you've interviewed in the past, like almost every single person in the family is an entrepreneur. I can't recollect anybody who has a job in our family. So very different family. And I think that shaped my views towards entrepreneurship and shaped my sort of risk-taking abilities in life.
Great. And so, was there ever a temptation to join any existing family business while you were growing up?
Yeah. So actually, I did join the family business. So when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, I'd actually joined the family business. So we have this carrot rule in our family. All the kids are told that if you come and attend office, do the bank reconciliation statement, work in the retail outlet, we'll take you abroad every 2-3 months. So they used to have these exhibitions in Germany, in US, and other places. It's only when we grew up we realized we were the cheapest labor they could find, because the cost of an air ticket, the kid would work for you 14 hours a day. But I think it was a good exchange because you get to go to Germany, go to US, and you can tell your potential girlfriends, oh, I was in Paris yesterday. But there I was cleaning up the stall and jharu mar raha tha. But fact of the matter is that you were in Paris, and there was a great thing. So I think the seeds of entrepreneurship in a way got reinforced during my working in the family business. But I was very clear, our family business is into musical instruments. So very quickly I realized that the largest musical instruments company in India would probably be less than $50 million in terms of, actually, I think maybe $20 million or $10 million. So even if you become the largest in the country, you will build a $10 million revenue company. So I said, like, I want to be very clear that if I want to create $1 billion company, the industry should not limit me. So that's one of the primary reasons that I said that, okay, if I fail to create $1 billion company, it'll be because of my own limitations, not the limitation of the industry. So I think that was the main reason that I left the family business to start Communicate to in those days, and this was 1997.
And how did you conceptualize the idea for Communicate to? Was there a problem you came across, a pain point you felt, and you decided to start the business? Or was there an opportunity you saw and you thought, hey, why is no one else solving this?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. So I was in US pretty frequently for exhibitions. I used to stay over at my friend's place in Roanoke in Virginia Tech. And what I found was that, internet was just really transforming, in a way, marketing communication. So I felt that Indians, in general, Indian companies are not very good at marketing, and using technology for marketing is even a bigger lacuna area. So I thought that if we can create a company that will help uh, large or mid-sized companies in India use technology to improve marketing communication, that would have a huge potential. I think I was naive. In 1997, there were no internet users in the country. So using internet and digital marketing was too naive an idea. And I think I was way too early. So we struggled a lot in the initial years because I think we underestimated the ability of companies in India to adopt technology and internet in the initial years. In a way, the idea was ahead of its time, but I think that taught us resilience of surviving and actually being optimistic about that sooner and later digital will arrive in India. Sorry, I've lost you, Sohan. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I was asking you, over time, founders start developing operating principles, and these are often developed through mistakes that are made. So I'm wondering, are there any principles that you had to build, and any principles that you created after you learned lessons the hard way?
Yeah. So I don't think some of my principles have been created because of lessons. I think what has happened is that, in a way, over a period of time, I've realized what kind of a leader I am and what are the things that are important to me. So let's say I have a principle of integrity where, even if I'm making $2 more, but I have to bend the rules a bit, I would not bend the rules. Even when I sold my company to Dentsu, I actually paid all of taxes and I was very clean. In fact, my CA also was saying that you don't need to be so clean. I said, like, listen, I rather sleep well at night. So I've always gone excessive on the integrity front. And I think that I learned mainly because I think my father, in a way, inculcated those values in me, and he had a sterlite reputation in the market, and he basically encouraged me that if you want to have a happy, joyful life, then you need to basically never be worried that something is going to untoward is going to happen because you did not deal with the world in integrity and consciousness, right? So that was one principle I have. I believe that we are this rope in the center. At one side there are team members and employees, and the other side there are customers. If you take care of your team members and you take care of your customers, then both of them rise. That you are this rope in the center, you will rise automatically. If you try to focus on your own rise, then the team and the customers will pull you down and you'll not be able to rise. Third principle for me is that I think having a really awesome way of training and imparting learning to team members was something which I focused on from very early days. So Communicate 2 has led to multiple companies being formed, multiple companies then being sold. Uh, most of our team members today work at some amazing places at very senior levels. And whenever I bump into them, they say, you know what? The training that C2 gave us from the early days is really came in handy. We could get jobs easily. We could get significantly pay increases because anybody who had left Communicate 2 was welcome in most other companies. So overall, they had a great career because of the training they received. And I think this has created a lot of offshoots per se. But in generally, I think one of my principles is happiness brings you success. Success may not bring you happiness. So if you focus on leading a life which is joyful and happier, I think it'll lead to success. So that I think is the core principle that in a way drives me.
When you were starting out, I believe it was the late 90s, venture capital may not have been so prominent in India, but you also come from a business background, you mentioned. your family was in business. Talk to us a little bit about how you approached financing for your company. Were you bootstrapped? And if yes, was that a conscious decision or was that lack of funding which led you to the discipline of bootstrapping?
No, I think I was bootstrapped, but my father had given me some capital, which in a way I was stupid enough to lose it all in the first few initial months because I had, you do advertising, you do a lot of things and you hire people then more than you really need. And dot com bust, whatever's left, dot com bust just killed it all. Then what I realized was that I think we had to pivot our business model. Instead of focusing only on media, we said, okay, we're going to focus on content, we're going to focus on strategy, we're going to focus on SEO, something which gives you net revenues on a monthly basis, which is not built on media because media can go through ups and downs. And I think at one point in time, we focused on search and became the largest search marketing company in the country. And that just took us to a next level. And I think in a way, we didn't have to look back, although we went through a little bit of a downturn during the financial bust in 2008 when a lot of banking institutions to work with we stopped spending. But I think becoming a specialist in one thing and becoming the best in the country in that one thing, I think was a strategy that's really served us well.
So, talk to me about the journey of building and then eventually selling a company. How misunderstood is that journey for entrepreneurs who've not been through the sales cycle? And what were some of the most surprising parts of the sale process for you?
Yeah. So I think my belief is that you can never build a company to sell it. You build companies, and in that journey, there is a possibility a sale will happen. So I've always seen a lot of entrepreneurs when they have this thing in their mind that they want to sell a company and they're trying to build a company to sell it, it rarely happens. But if you build a great company, in that process, a sale could happen. So I think that's been my biggest learning. Even right now, we're trying to build Consumer.ai into one of the largest consumer intelligence platforms in the world. And we're working with Fortune companies. We've built an amazing tech. And in that whole process, we've had people approaching us and we're exploring those options when people approach us. But it was never built. You build a company with a 20-year horizon that you want to build this into a multi-billion dollar company over the next 20-year period. And in that journey, something will happen. Second thing I think is that people think that entrepreneurship, like some people may have it easy. I've rarely met any entrepreneur who's had it easy. Every single entrepreneur has gone through ups and downs, struggles in life, and it's very, very rare that an entrepreneur has achieved success without those downturns. So that is something which I feel people look at entrepreneurs with somewhat of a rosy lens, but every entrepreneur has gone through, in a way, extreme hardships. Staying in the office all night long. We used to have an office in a mall, and they would shut down the shutters, and I would stay back in the mall in the night. And the mall is really scary in the night. And the loo used to be on the other side of the mall, and there used to be mannequins of textile and these garment companies, and it used to be very scary in the night. So many times you would just go to the loo before the mall would close down, and then not go to the loo the entire night. We've we've stayed in in the office where you slept on the table where there is a CRT monitor, and you can't comfortably take a you can't sleep there, but you're sleeping there. So I think all entrepreneurs go through really tough times, but it looks rosy at the end of it. So there is one saying that has motivated me a lot in my life. It says that entrepreneurs live a few years of their life like most people won't, so they can live the rest of their life like most people can't. So this is one saying that has motivated me a lot.
Got it. Great. Do you think you inherited any principles actively from your parents about running a business, starting and running a business? Or do you think while there may not have been any obvious principles, they were all encoded within you and it reflected in your style of work and your approach towards situations?
I think more than principles, I think I've inculcated a lot of values for my father. So his ability to take risks. So his story goes like he was 17 years old when my grandfather had expired. He had four other siblings. The youngest sibling was 3 years old. And he told all the people in Mathura that he's going to go to business and do business in Bombay. He comes from Mathura. So all the elders in the Mathura said that, don't you listen, what are you going to do? How are you going to take this 3-year-old kid with the mother and all these people to Bombay? Why don't you just stay back in Mathura? So he said, but if I stay back in Mathura, would you take care of me? So he said, no, we will try, but God will take care of you. So he says, God will take care of me in Bombay too. And then that's how he left Mathura and came to Bombay. If he had stayed back in Mathura, then probably we would have not been talking, right? Because the opportunities he received, the proof that he built. So I think that risk taking is one value that I think he inculcated in me. Integrity is one value that he's definitely uh, inculcated in me. He is always a person who would go out of his way to help people, and I do the same. I've seen that in a way it was a he believed in karma, and he believed in karma in the same life, which I have a very similar belief about it. He was a very optimistic guy. So I feel that I don't know if optimism can be transferred, but probably it is hereditary. I have a daughter who's very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. So my father was very optimistic. So I have a feeling that that's one thing that probably has got transferred either through nature or nurture. I don't know. But these are the things that I can easily say that I think is under the influence of my father.
Beautiful. I've said on a few of my previous podcast episodes that I think every entrepreneur is optimistic, has to be optimistic, because you always believe the future is better than the present. And hence, you don't mind the sleepless nights, the unpaid hours that you work for maybe months or years, and all the other personal risks you put yourself and maybe some corporate risks you take on. So I definitely acknowledge what your father might have imbibed in you on the optimism part there. And then at some point, you wrote a book, Happiness is a Muscle. Talk to us about what inspired you to do that introspection on, maybe recognizing that you need to write a book, how that journey was, and why did you pick this particular topic?
So actually, it's again connected to my father's. What happened was that I sold my company in 2012. 7, 8 months thereafter, my father landed up in the hospital. He was in the ventilator, and I'd grown up in a middle class family, so for me, like, money is a panacea for all evil, right? I thought like a silver bullet solves all problems, and obviously I couldn't save my father, and my father passed away in that trip. So I was in the hospital every night in that introspection mode, and I said, like, I spent my entire life trying to make wealth, and now I've made it, which was pretty adequate for me for the rest of my life, and it's still not able to save my father, and it is not giving me happiness, right? I thought this is like I'll be in a state of ecstasy all the time. Anytime I feel depressed, I can just look at my bank account and I'll feel better. And I realized that when my father passed away, the bank account meant nothing. So I actually decided to make a new goal in my life. My new goal was I want to increase my happiness every minute, every hour for the rest of my life. And I said, okay, I've always believed that when I want to learn something new, I attempt teaching it. In that process, I get a very deep understanding of that subject. So actually, I wanted to learn more about happiness. I wanted to have new goals in my life which are focused on happiness, and then the only way to do that was to learn about it. So I read 30, 40 books, I went through hundreds of videos, I had conversations with people. I basically became, in a way, deep thinker and introspected a lot of thoughts and ideas on happiness. And then one thing I found missing in all the literature that I could read and all the books that I could read was either the books focused on philosophy or they focused on actions. So you meditate, you'll be happier. You exercise, you'll be happier. Or they focused on things like that, you do minimalism and you can't get happiness from material things. So you look at happiness from non-material things, etc. So I felt that nobody had built sort of a connection between these two things. So I came up with this concept that nutrition and exercise gives you the normal physical muscle. I felt that certain actions and certain beliefs give you this happiness muscle. So with that concept, I worked on it. I created a whole set of beliefs, my own empowering beliefs that how do you build a better relation with money? How do you learn new things to increase your happiness? How do you actually, do certain physical actions that lead to chemical release and increase happiness? So I believe there is a baseline everybody has of happiness. My book purpose is not to make you happy, but to make you happier. 80 or 100, how do you become 85 or 100? But you're 28 or 100, how do you become 40 or 100? So at 40, you may not be in the traditional sense of the world one of the happiest guys around, but it's much better than being on 28. So that is what the book is about. And it's been a very lovely journey writing the book, publishing it, I now go and speak. In fact, a couple of OPMers have invited me to their house. I don't know if you know Janak. So Janak invited me to his house. He called 15, 20 other OPMers and his friends. We gave a talk on happiness and then distributed the book to all of them. So again, I've been now going and speaking about happiness. My what is I want to create a multi-billion dollar company with Consumer.ai. But my why is I want to make 100 million people happier. So I will figure out ways in which one will lead to the other. Keeping my fingers crossed. That's one thing that I want to do before I meet my maker. Have I contributed in making 100 million people happier?
Very noble, very noble. What led you to OPM at the Harvard Business School?
So I'm actually, one of my chapters in my book is learning new things gives me happiness. And one of the things that I've realized about learning new things, the biggest benefit of that is, people who are positive energize you, people who are negative drain your energy. I've always seen that people who are positive think of the future and people who are negative think and talk about the past. Whenever you're learning anything new, the people you meet, the friends you'll make will be positive people. So what I've seen is that when I've learned something, when I've gone to Everest Base Camp to learn about climate or I've gone to Everest Base Camp, or I've gone to Arctic Circle to learn about climate change, or I've gone to OPM, or I've joined YPO universities, or EORIEs, or forum facilitation, etc., or mentalism, or stand-up comedy. The people that I've met in those places are really happy, positive people. So one of the reasons that I sign up for all these things is I believe that life is going like this, and something you'll do because of that, your life will change by 1 degree. 10, 20 years down the line, you'll end up in a different place. So I think that was one of the reasons that I wanted to do something which. So I didn't go for my MBA and further studies abroad. I started a company when I was 21 years old. I always wanted to study in a university campus in US, in an established institution like a Harvard or Stanford. I heard a lot about OPM, and uh, we were sitting actually in Maldives, me and my cousin, and he said, "Oh, have you been to Harvard? Have you studied anything?" I said, "No." I said, "No." We both filled up our application that evening and applied for OPMs. It was an expensive time at the bar when we applied to OPM, but that's how actually OPM happened for me. And then in
Wait,
hindsight, made some amazing friends from the institution. Yeah.
and were there any takeaways from OPM that you find yourself revisiting that you could talk about today?
Yeah. So I think for me, I think there are, when OPM, they told me something very interesting, right? That there is one third of learning that happens from what the professor are teaching you. One third happens from your conversation we have with your fellow students. But one third happens through introspection, because you are so engrossed in the case studies and studying that you are not able to concentrate on your existing business at all. So a lot of ideas and thoughts that you have for your business, in a way, come to you when you're away from the business. So I think to a certain extent, I think we made a pivot from media to market research. I think at some level, some of these thoughts on strategy came from the learnings that we had from OPM. I think a lot of GTM strategy that, in a way, we're focusing on comes from what like Das Narayan Das taught us in marketing, etc. I think a lot of connections that are built up, uh, I think has been very, very useful. Sounding boards, we're going to right now Synapse in Delhi 21st, 22nd, but 50 of us OPMers are going to be there. We have a reunion in Greece coming up end of August, September. 50, 60 of us are going to be there. So you make friends for life, and I think the learning continues. But I think broadly, I think these things teach you pattern recognition at scale, teach you how to build scale large companies. I think it sharpened my strategy to a certain extent. It allowed me to learn more about negotiation, about pricing. I think at some level, if you're trying to build a large company, having a structured approach on how one should go about doing that and having connections with entrepreneurs all over the world can be very useful in that goal.
Vivek, now you've lived your life as a founder, a leader, and you're also an angel investor. With all the experiences that you've had, everything that you've been through in your journey in these different capacities, how would you today define a wise person?
So I have a feeling at some level, right? For me, if you can take good judgment, you're a wise person. I think if you can take better decisions, so like I've done a course on decision making called Decision by Design by Shane Parrish. I think if you can take this, at least to divide the decisions into consequential, inconsequential, reversible, irreversible. So all the consequential, irreversible decisions, if you can take better decisions, I think you're a wise person. I also believe that a wise person believes in long-term thinking. So if you can think over a 20-year horizon, you have to be wise. Only then you can have a long-term approach towards thinking. I think happiness and joyfulness, I think, is important. A wise person is generally happier than people who are unwise. So I think happiness is important for me. Then obviously you need to have sort of values anchored choices. You need to have self awareness. I think humility is very important for a wise person, that, however smart you are, there are people who are smarter than you. And in every single thing, there are people who will be smarter than you. So I think more than IQ, a wise person has emotional intelligence. So uh, I also believe that if you can not lose your temper and you can have more control over your mind, then you're a wise person.
Very, 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 very well said. Just to add to that, Shane Parrish I heard an episode he had done with Naval Ravikant on his Knowledge
Yeah,
Project
I've
podcast.
heard that.
It's a ritual for me. I listen to that particular episode every quarter, shared it with
Wow.
everyone who's close to me. Everyone in my family, I believe, has heard it, and we talk about it actively to try and remind ourselves of some of the very powerful takeaways. That was one episode which really influenced me and my mindset a
I've
lot.
also read the Almanac of
Yeah.
um, Ravikant. I think that's also a wonderful book.
Yeah.
In
And then
fact, when I was reading that book, so I had written my book about 4 years ago. It got published later. Reading the book, I found so many things which are similarity between what Naval was saying and what my book was. It was almost like it was just amazing to read the book and compare it with some of the thoughts that I had on happiness.
Very well. If there is a founder listening today and they're early in their journey of entrepreneurship, what is one mindset that you believe they should take away and recognize as they embark on the entrepreneurial journey?
So I believe in this concept called long-term selfishness. So always have a view of 20 years. If you have that long-term view, and be selfish about it. I'm not saying that you're to be where you are making sacrifices to make everybody else happy, but if you make everybody else, if you focus on your own happiness but have a long-term approach towards life, I think you'll be more successful. So happiness brings you success. Success may not bring you happiness. I think integrity is very important. People underestimate its importance. I think it's very, very important to have a life of integrity. It makes you sleep well at night. And I think that leads to the peace of mind, which is very important in life. I've gone through so many times in areas where I had this two roads, two choices to make. One had lesser integrity involved in it, and I always took the road which had higher integrity. And I think that has been the secret for my happiness and to a certain extent secret of my success. I also believe that I believe hard work is overrated. You need to spend most of your time doing things that only you can do. I don't think working 18 hours a day, unless see, if you're Elon Musk and you can have that kind of productivity at 18 hours a day, but there is one Elon Musk, right, who can build three companies or each $1 trillion each. But in most cases, I think if you can just give adequate amount of time to doing things that you do best in the world and hone and focus on your strengths, it's best to focus on strength and become the best in the world in that strength rather than trying to focus on your weaknesses and then have a lot of mediocre weaknesses. So I've always focused on things that I'm best at and become even better at it. And I think that is something which I would recommend entrepreneurs should do.
Is there a book that you could talk about which might have influenced your thinking or which you have appreciated reading?
Yeah, I think I'm a fan of Jim Collins. So all his books, whether it's Good to Great or Built to Last, obviously uh, are definitely it's like a Bible for me. To a certain extent, my own book, Happiness is a Muscle, in a way has given me a lot of learning, in a way about sort of understanding uh, at least my own mental makeup. So that is something which I think is there. I read a lot of interesting books, right? So I've read this book called Your Brain at Work that talks about neuroscience and how your brain works. If you understand the development in neuroscience that has happened in the last 10 years is more than the last 100 years put together. That uh, I'm pretty fond of uh, like esoteric topics, like whether it's I'm reading this book by um it's called Reality Transurfing. I think Vadim Zealand or something is the author. It's a pretty big book, but it talks about this that we live in this parallel universes and you can make the life you want if you are, in a way, able to do certain things. So that, but in fiction also, I'm fond of Dan Brown. So I'm reading The Secret of Secrets right now, one of his latest Dan Brown books. In the good old days, I've read all of Ayn Rand, so Atlas Shrugged to Fountainhead to you name it. It's like that. But again, if I had to take one business book that entrepreneurs should read, I think Good to Great would be my Bible for that.
Yeah, if you listen to the last 10 episodes, I think consistently Jim Collins or a book by him has been mentioned when I asked this question.
Wow.
No surprises there. And my last question for you is, after building and scaling and exiting businesses, how do you now think about success, fulfillment, and happiness?
So I'll tell you how this new company started. So what happened was I was in a way running uh, Dentsu Performance Group. We had 1,000+ people. We had 3, 4 CEOs reporting into me. I was on board of multiple Dentsu companies. I was angel investing. I had this, great life. I was traveling to London, to Singapore for board meetings. I was, in a way, among those people who were deciding what investment Dentsu makes in different countries. I was on the committee. So I had this amazing life, right? And at some level, I realized that happiness comes in the growth phase. It does not come in the phase of stagnation. What I was doing, I was not learning anything new and I was not finding myself challenged on a day-to-day basis. I could have done what I was doing in my sleep. So one of the main reasons I ended up starting a new company was I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to grow. And I think is in a way, the spinal cord, in a way for me. I ask myself this question every day. What did I do today that because of which I grew today in my life? Right? What did I learn something new? Did I face any challenges which really stretched me, which put me in that growth zone. If the answer for a few days is nothing, that means I'm doing something wrong. So I believe that an entrepreneur is this trapeze artist who's in a circus, whose job is to do these somersaults. The first time when he's doing this, he's capable of three somersaults. He does one. When he falls down, he dies. But once he sells his company, he gets a safety net. So now if he's capable of three, he should try 10. If he's capable of 10, he should try 20. He should keep on increasing it, make it 100, 200. One day he will fly. So he must fall on that safety net a million times. So the only way you're going to fall on the safety net a million times is you're going to stretch yourself and do more than what you're capable of doing. If you don't fall in a safety net, then you wasted your life. So I think once you sold your company, then you'll realize that, okay, now I have a safety net. If I'm capable of creating a $50 million company, let me try a $200 million company. If I'm capable of $200 million, let me come a $1 billion company. And now there are examples that people have created $1 trillion companies, right? So basically stretch yourself to do more than what you're capable of, punch above your weight range. And I think at least my basic necessities, I know that my food, shelter, clothing, security is assured for the rest of my life for me and my family, right? I don't have to worry ever that I will not be able to provide for my family the basic laws of Maslow. So now with that safety net, if I don't stretch and do more than what I'm capable of, then I would have wasted a life. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm looking at. How do I stretch myself every day and do more than what I'm capable of and increase my capability to do more? So virtuous cycle. So I'll end up doing X more than what I'm doing today because like Outliers talks about this book, which talks about 10,000 hours you become an expert. There is an interesting book on table tennis by this guy who's a UK champion of table tennis called Bounce. What it says is that it's not 10,000 hours that makes you an expert. You have to set yourself in each one of those 10,000 hours. Just because you're a taxi driver who drove 10,000 hours, you don't become a Formula One champion. So in order to be the Formula One champion, you have to be on the track and stretch yourself. In that 10,000 hours, that's you become that. So now what happens is I am spending the 10,000 hours where every day I'm spending a few hours in perfecting my craft, improving my craft, stretching myself, putting myself in this uncomfortable growth zone and keeping my fingers crossed. Um, Hopefully I'll achieve 10x, 100x, 200x of what I've achieved in the past.
Very well said. In the tipping point, I read about 10,000 hours. And then I believe in one of Nawal's interviews, he talks about 10,000 attempts. And today you've extended that further by sharing that, hey, it's not even attempts, it's stretching yourself in each of those attempts. Glad to end on that note. A lot of powerful takeaways here. And I appreciate your time, Vivek. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us about happiness as well. And I do agree with you. It is a muscle and it's a book we should check out. The book is called Happiness is a Muscle. Did I get that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And how do
It's
people
right now
find that?
Amazon
Yeah.
only, but yeah, sooner or later I'm going to build a website and build a plan around it.
Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate your time, Vivek. Thank you very much.
Same here, my friend. Pleasure. Thank you. It was awesome to be here.